so much, Randy, for being on the Soulish podcast. You are a repeat guest, and I'm so excited to have you back on, especially before the end of the year. Our last episode, we talked about hearing angels and connecting with your angels, and it was such a beautiful conversation around just even like my previous past with angelic ministry and that relationship. And I know that just from a few of the people that liked or just said, wow, that was amazing, that really helped me connect with my angels and have like a better understanding of what that could be like. I know some people also picked up the angel cards, including myself. So that was really cool to hear about. So I know that you are a massage therapist, a Reiki practitioner, as well as a sage, and you just have like the most beautiful relationship with your angels. It's so inspiring and encouraging, and helps me even to just have a different perspective when speaking with my spiritual team. And so I thank you for being back, because we're going to get into more of it, which I'm so excited, and talk kind of about what you've been hearing, what they've been sharing with you that they want to for us to know about or be aware of. And so I'm excited to get into that too. So thank you, Randy, for being here.
Whitney, thank you so much for having me back. This is a real treat. Especially we're recording this just a few days before Thanksgiving. I appreciate the opportunity to share, and my angels especially appreciate the opportunity to share with your listeners. And we are really overwhelmed by the appreciation from your listeners with all the likes that you were telling me about. So very happy to be here today.
Yeah, happy to have you. I kind of figured when we booked this that your angels would be talking with you and kind of sharing with you what they want to talk about, or what they want to share with my listeners, as well as just anyone else that just stumbles upon this episode that isn't even a subscriber yet. And for indefinite, however long this episode stays up, into the eons of time. And so I knew that probably was going to happen. And so when we were just talking just now, it was really exciting to know that you definitely have things. And so I just wanted to open that up to start with, because I know it's so profound when we hear from our angels, our team, our ancestors, when it's just even a personal message for us, but also when it's a collective. I feel like it's kind of like this global personal message, or something that applies to so many, but is so relevant to each individual. And so I think that's really important to kind of open up as we're closing this year out, entering in 2022. And so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share.
Cool. Well, as you were talking, as you were introducing me, I got this shove to grab my cards and pull a card for our talk. And cool. I'm kind of an old school shuffler, the Vegas kind of shuffling. So here we go.
Me too.
Hopefully they won't fly all over the place. But I'm really happy to hear that you and some of your listeners found these cards, and they're fun to play with, first of all. And I use them daily. And one more shuffle, and we'll cut it a couple of times and see who's shuffling. Of course, it's Michael, Archangel.
Of course. He's been coming up a lot.
Yeah. For those of you that aren't familiar with him, from the deck from Doreen Virtue, Michael is, his blessing to you is, I am with you, giving you the courage to make life changes that will help you work on your divine life purpose. And I'm going to set him right over here, and I think he's going to come back in just a little while. So that's how wanted to open this up, and probably a real quick intro. You and I really connected in a Reiki session, a Saturday morning Reiki session that you were doing way back there in the spring. And that opened the door for us to have these further conversations. But at that time, when you dropped in with me in that session, you noticed 3 angels in my living room. Mm-hmm. And I should go ahead and introduce those 3. Celeste is my guardian angel and has been with me for eons. There is Astara and Akasha. And then I have a 4th, Athena, who pops in and out. She was actually present a few weeks ago because when I told you I'd been traveling the month of October, I returned home, sinus infection showed up. Ooh. And she showed up, and it was really very helpful to have her around and lean into that internal power that she was able to provide. So yeah, by way of introduction for your listeners and viewers, those are my 3 primary, and they actually very quickly want me to do an invocation that, if you happen to find the book Ask Your Angels that I mentioned before, I don't even know if it's in print, but regardless, there was a process, a 5-step process that I talked about called GRACE, which an acronym for grounding, releasing, aligning, conversing, and then enjoying your time with the angels. But that was a process to create a closer connection and a way of letting them know that you're open to their presence, to their communication. Mm-hmm. And there is within that book something called an angel invocation. And it may sound a little bit like a Sanskrit mantra, but it's not. It's 4 sounds that are referred to by the authors as words. And I'm going to, before I do the invocation, I want to share the meaning, because if anybody wants to join along, you're more than welcome to. But I really want you to know what it is you're saying, and you make the choice to do so, or simply listen, or mute for a while and then come back in. Anyway, whatever your choice is. The first word is E, and it's spelled E-E-E, 3 E's, means all that I am that is not physical, my mind and my emotions. Nu, N-U, means my physical body, and that also includes the etheric body, which is that outermost subtle body, that one most closely connected to the physical. And then Ra, A-H, not to be confused with raw contact or any other Ra, refers to my soul. And then Zay, Z-A-Y, means in the company of angels. So we're going to use those, or I'm going to speak those. And it's 3, the first 3, E, Nu, Ra, repeated 3 times, and then you finish with Zay. So, whether you're comfortable or not, you don't have to close your eyes or hold any mudras or breathe a certain way, you can just listen or speak these with me.
Let's do it.
All right. Inu Ra, Inu Ra, Inu Ra, Zay. And that's an invocation that really puts it out there that you're open and ready to connect with angels. That opens us up. And I share that because I spoke to this last time. All of us have our ways that we've learned to ground. There's in that process, grounding is nothing really new. When I ground, it's but forget the but. It's when I ground, I'm grounding to the earth. I connect to the sky and I center here within in my heart space. Okay. So it's a grounding, it's a connecting, and it's a centering. The releasing part of it, the second step, is really about letting go of beliefs of unworthiness or beliefs around whether there are angels or not, putting those aside, releasing those, setting those down for a while, and just being present without all that clutter. And then the aligning part is really about coming into a space of awareness. And that awareness really, the way I think of it is opening all your senses, opening your hearing, softening your eyesight, really smelling what's present around you, opening the door to that, getting a sense of what you taste in your mouth. All your senses are present online, and then the touch, the feel, room temperature. That's a real common one, what you feel from the clothing you're wearing. But it's coming into full sensory experience or awareness. And then once you're there, the conversing can begin. And we'll come to that. And then the final step is just kind of a culmination of all of it, enjoying the experience, enjoying, fully embodying that. And these are some of the things, clarifications from that first round, that introduction of me and my angels through you to the world. And yeah, Akasha especially is wanting this information put out there with a little more specificity. So if anyone listening, watching has questions, feel free to put them out there to Whitney. She'll get them to me. Or if you can find me, or if you find me, not if, but when you find me on social media, reach out with your questions.
Yeah, I'll have you tagged so people can find you on social media and all that, just like last time.
Cool. And then, there, with all this said, there's something that Astara once put forth. Come to this as an open skeptic. A
Mm-hmm.
skeptic is someone that doesn't come in with a belief one way or the other. They just haven't had the experience of it, so they come in with a healthy bit of doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they're open. They're open to whatever shows up.
Yep.
And that's really something that, I am almost, well, we're approaching 25 years of me working with my angels. So this is not something that is uncomfortable for me. But if it is uncomfortable for you, approach it from this place of open skepticism and just see what shows up.
So good. I think that's definitely how I've approached it because it's just a new world. Like I had grown up knowing that there was angelic ministry, but I didn't know that you could actually have like a talking. I thought angels appeared during like really critical times and only those times. I didn't know that you could necessarily have like an open daily relationship. So I think that's a great step. Like if for somebody who it's completely new and not something that they're familiar really much with, that they can open up with that healthy amount of doubt or skepticism, but being open. And I think that's like the best way to approach spirituality in general is to have like that,
Wow.
right? Like just to have that wisdom but openness, and just to kind of test all things in that way. If it doesn't resonate, if it's not aligned with you, maybe it's just not aligned right now. Maybe that's something for you later. So just even when something isn't in alignment right now or it's not clicking, that doesn't mean that it's not true or not good or not for you at all. It just means that maybe like this is just a journey, a process.
Yeah. It was over 40 years before I came to have my first awareness of angels in my life.
Yeah.
Direct, pretty much an intervention when they showed up. It was definitely at one of those dark nights of the soul. And I've gone into that. You can listen to
Yes.
episode to get that story. This is so fun.
So fun.
I enjoy talking with you so much. I just have to say that.
Yeah.
And another thing I'm going to share, and then we'll get into a question that you posed earlier. We're going to come back around to that, and you can put that out there in whatever format you want to for your listeners. But there's one other thing that showed up. This is a prayer, a blessing. It's called the Rainbow Blessing of the Archangels.
Mm.
I'm about to reference some archangels that are very familiar with most people, and I'm about to reference some archangels that are from Kabbalistic wisdom, and that really, the Kabbalah actually references quite a number of
Wow.
angels of various kinds. So here we go. Rainbow Blessing of the Archangels. And I will share where this source comes from.
Cool. Good.
Okay?
Then I can tag it.
Yeah. And you may hear me pronounce these angel names a little differently from what you're familiar with. This is a little more from some studies I did about 10 years ago on angels. So, Michael, angel of divine will, bless my physical body with the ray of essence.
Hmm.
Kamael, angel of omniscience. Bless my astral body with the ray of phosphorescence. Raphael, angel of universal love, bless my mental body with the ray of rubescence. Haniel, angel of epiphany, bless my causal body with the ray of iridescence. Zadkiel, angel of forgiveness, bless my Buddhic body with the ray of pearlescence. Gabriel, angel of truth, bless my Atmic body with the ray of quiescence. Zaphkiel, angel of grace, bless my monadic body with the ray of luminescence.
Wow. So beautiful. Some of those words I haven't even ever heard before. Like, I was like, dang, how many bodies do we got? I was just aware we had 3. I love it.
I've had various forms of subtle bodies, various forms of thought around it that I've explored over the years. However, I've kind of settled in on this particular philosophy around subtle bodies, total of really 7. Mm-hmm. And then each of those has a particular form of light or ray of light form that is associated with it, and then specific archangels associated with each one. This comes from a book that actually arrived on Saturday.
No way.
And it was just released. It's called The Spring of Dreams, Selected Poetry and Prayers by Richard Rudd, R-U-D-D.
Wow, I'm gonna have to get that. That's so cool.
It's beautiful. All the poetry. It's not a it's not a large, thick, voluminous book, but it's beautiful, and so that's kind of an opening for us today. Maybe a bit lengthy, but yeah, we're fully into it now. So let's come back to your question. Mm-hmm. If you're willing to put that out there.
Yeah, I think since our last episode, that really inspired me in a way that I just didn't really realize I needed. Like, this whole year has been such a crazy experience of guidance, of literally being told in January, this is ending. Everything here is ending, and you will be moving in March when your lease is up, and then you will have your job for 3 months. You'll stay on with Stanford University, and then you're going to transition. You're going to have a time period of transition, and you're going to transition into something completely new that you're just not even aware of right now. And I was like, okay. So I had no idea what that meant. Didn't really know if that was going to work out. And kind of like you said, I was an open skeptic. So I was like, okay, I mean, I can hear this, but it's my phrase is table it. Like, so it's on the table, it's there, it's in front of me. I'm not like hiding it or tucking it away anywhere. It's out there. But I'm not gonna try to force this to happen. Like, I'm not gonna try to make it happen now that I've heard it. I know that when you get a word like that is very directional, very specific, and also instructional, kind of in nature of like, this is what's going to happen. Here's the timeline. I know that there's nothing I can do to make this happen. This is either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Everything happened exactly like it happened, and I didn't do anything to make it happen. It literally just, it came to a point, each step came to a point where it was like, yep, we're doing this, I was like, okay, wow. And then when I looked back, I'm like, oh my God, it's been 3 months, like since I like moved here, and now I'm transitioning this job, and now I'm in this transition, and I don't have anything, to automatically replace it, which for me, and I'm sure so many listeners, really hard to move from a job not into the next job, right? Especially during this whole ordeal that we have, like that lack of security can kind of freak people out. I was just provided for continually, continually, continually. And it was just so crazy to be a part of that transition. And then come September, I transitioned into a full-time gig, and it's been really fun because it's perfectly in alignment with where I'm headed, what I'm doing. It's not opposing. It works perfectly in with everything. So I can continue to do the work I do. I can continue the podcast. Nothing is like fighting against the other. So it's really awesome to have that kind of harmony a part of my life for the first time ever. I think I've always done quote unquote ministry and worked in corporate. It's always been both and. So I say this all to say that everybody that follows me knows that I went into a really amazing sacred fast. I did an episode about it and shared about it. So that's there if you guys want to listen to it. It kind of all happened, and it actually was initiated by a new angel that appeared to me one day when I just felt, all of a sudden I felt really exhausted. And so I was like, okay, let me lay down. And it was just a couple days before September 1st. I think it was a Wednesday. I was like, let me just lay down and just like try to rest. Like, I feel really physically exhausted. So let me just take a nap. I'm a horrible napper, but let me try. and, and so I basically laid down, and then I didn't have AC on. I didn't have a window open. The air completely changed. And I got like the full body goosebumps. So like you said, like just being, aware of like what you feel. And I got full body goosebumps, but it wasn't just that. I felt the energy shift. It was like, felt that presence. And I was like, huh, okay, whoa, so then I actually started asking like, hey, is anybody there? Anybody want to talk? Like I can feel something just shifted. Something just entered my room, my living room, my space. Sure enough, all of a sudden I heard, hi, my name's Mercy, and I'm here to tell you something really important. And I'm getting chills just talking about it. Like the ones on your cheek.
Yeah.
And so she just started revealing to me this whole process of going into a sacred fast, which I haven't fasted since I was like a Christian, like 7 years ago. And I think even it was further than that, because I don't think I fasted even within the last, few years of technically being a Christian. And so she outlined the process and why I was entering this. And I say she, but feminine energy, but not right. We know that, but I just want to clarify for the people that don't know that. And it was to open up my third eye. I didn't even know about calcification or anything like that. I had no clue. So when she was saying that, I was like, you can calcify your pineal gland? Like, I was like, what? And so later I like Googled it, and my brother was even ribbing me because he was like, Whitney, that's like one of the most like talked about things in the spiritual community. And I was like, well, I'm out of that community because I have never heard that before until just now. And so I went not only on like a fast, but it was really specific. The days that I was supposed to switch to certain foods or certain things, I did like a 14-day fruits and vegetables only. Specific vegetables, specific fruits were called out to me. And then I went on a juice fast, and it was specific things that I was supposed to juice. So everything was like detailed out. I didn't even have to write it out. It was like ingrained in me. I felt like she wrote it on like an internal notepad or something. And And so then the last day was a water fast only, and that was maybe one of the most profound days when I started to go into the juice fast, and I was just like drenching my body like in juice. Like it was not, I didn't feel depleted one bit. Like if anything, I was on this total high, and glowing, and I could tell like my body was obviously also loving this, but also my energy was just insane, and I was getting tons of visions and tons of dreams and all sorts of stuff, and had even like touching experiences where I would feel something physical happen to me, and would even peek open my eyes to be like, I think I'm gonna see something. Like as soon as I open my eyes, like it's like there's no way nothing's not gonna be there. I love that you're laughing. And sure enough,
Oh, yeah.
nothing's there. But like I would look down, like one time I had the comforter over me because I had gone to bed after meditating and all of that, and all of a sudden I felt something rubbing my stomach, like all the way up to my chest, kind of all the way down to my like lower abdomen. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, I know I'm fasting, but this doesn't feel like gurgles or something like that. My body is like doing this. Like, this clearly feels like something is literally like almost like massaging my abdomen. I was just like, this is nuts. So I had my eyes closed, and I was thinking the whole time, my Christian upbringing has so many things that I still probably need to work through. But I was like, what if this is evil? Like, what if this is like an evil demonic attack? You know, like, oh, like, how do I know this isn't pot? You know, this isn't something that's coming after me or something. And and I just heard, I literally heard, not audible, but like heard in my head just kind of a chuckle, and it was like, Whitney, I think you'd be able to feel it if it was negative. Like you can chill, like chill out. Like, cause, and I was like, my brain was going 1,000 miles per hour trying to figure out what this was. And she slowed me down. So I say all that to say, I kind of entered in a different season where I was being shown different visions of my future, but it was an element of my future that I wasn't comfortable continuing to talk about. And it started to wear on me because I'm like, okay, like first of all, how is this going to happen? You know, like this kind of seems like very fairy tale-ish, like not reality. Like this seems like something that is like something that would be my imagination, like my hopes and dreams, but like not an actual reality. Like life doesn't happen like that. But it was continuing to be brought up. And so for a while I was really holding on to that. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm invested in this. Like you guys keep bringing this up. I know you're bringing it for a reason. I'll hold on to hope with that. But as things kept not happening over the past couple months, I started to like lose hope, and kind of, and then it was painful to have this brought up again, because this has actually been like a long history of me having this desire in my heart for this to be fulfilled, and yet it's not, you know, and it's continually not fulfilled. So it almost felt like cruel and unusual punishment of like something I did in a past life. Like, why is this being brought up? Like, I just want to kill this desire and move on. Like, I want to fry bigger fish. You know, I want to pursue bigger dreams, bigger purpose. I don't want to be hung up on something that is kind of something that could happen and be supportive for sure in life, or good, enjoyable, but like I don't want to get focused on that and make that everything when I have so much more that I want to do in my life and focus on and put my energy and intention towards. And so I felt like that was being misguided. So I kind of shut them down. And I just recently have kind of opened back up, and immediately felt guilt for shutting them out as long as I had, because I had had such amazing experiences in September, and here I am in November, and it's been like a few weeks of me just being like, dude, like stop. Peace sign up, like can y'all not, like I don't want to talk about that. Like I don't want to have visions, I don't want to have dreams, like stop. Like seriously stop. Like I'm telling you guys to stop. Like anything else but that, you know? And I felt like they respected that. I felt like there was a little bit of disappointment. That could have just been me. But the guilt I felt immediately washed away, because I just felt their compassion, and I felt that love of like, no, we totally get it. Like we totally understand. We get it. Um, but never have they ever said everything we were showing you was you, that was you, that wasn't us. Like they've just not even really mentioned it. And so I know a lot of people, when we enter into different things, especially any kind of relationship between God and us, our angels and us, like we can feel very guilty even with just our actions in life, like the choices we make in life, that we feel like we're disqualified from that connection. We're disqualified from that communication, that connection that we have. And so I just wanted to open that up for you to kind of give your insight and your angels to give us insight as to that process of that ebb and flow of the relationship and how they would view that. Because I can share my perspective, but I want to open it up for them.
Sure. There have been times where one or more of my angels has been very enthusiastic about the message, that, the information, the direction, the guidance, whatever it was. And I have had to put my foot down and say, I appreciate what you're sharing. However, this is not, I do not feel this is in my best interest right now to dive into this. So next question, next
Topic.
conversation, next topic. I can appreciate what you're feeling because you had just really begin to develop this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this is something that's probably very important for you at some point in your life. But it's okay to say, not now.
Mm-hmm.
Not now. Let's go with this. And yeah, and sure, disappointment, probably. I mean, think about your best friend, your best friends, when you have opened your heart to them with something that's going on in your life, and then they offer from their heart their compassion and their love with
Mm-hmm.
what they share, and you say, no, not now.
Yeah.
Okay, same kind of thing. And sometimes with friends like that, incarnated friends, let's go with that, sometimes they get a little enthusiastic with what they're
Yeah.
offering.
Yeah.
They're just adamant that this is
Mm-hmm.
how it should be. And sometimes you got to just really be firm.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that is I don't know if people also feel the same way, and perhaps it's my concept of angels is that, oh, anything they say is in the time it's meant to be said and is divine and is necessary for me to continually hear. And I think where I was getting was I was frustrated because I'm like, I heard it like 1,000 times. Like, you've given me so many different scenarios as how this could happen and how this could come up. And I'm not asking for that. Like, I'm literally not coming into my meditation. I'm not coming into connecting with you guys for that. I'm literally coming just open to whatever. And yet I'm getting this continually. And so it's like this frustration of, like, I don't understand this, but then feeling that guilt, like I should bend to that will of of what they have to say because they're divine. I'm just a human, spiritual being in a human form. Yes, I'm divine, but you know what I mean? Like we kind of I've always put angels up on that pedestal that they're the voice of God in that aspect. So whatever they say is always right, and if I disagree with it, I'm wrong. But what I'm picking up from you and maybe other people are, so I wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit, is the concept of we're maybe not as, like, I get there's archangels and stuff like that, but we're maybe more on the same level, just different dimensions than what we think we are. Like angels aren't necessarily better or higher knowledge, or I don't even, because I feel like that is true, but do you know what I mean? Like
I
we're
I hear
able to, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You hit on a very important point. Okay. First of all, I want to go back to,
Hmm.
have you, when you in your heart feel like you have heard the voice of God, divine will, have you always, in every case, followed that to the letter?
I want to say yes, but I'm open to the fact if I haven't. I, if I'm really honest, I feel like I have, but I don't know if I've
That's,
actually followed through. Like maybe there was some part of that. I've always thought of the voice of God as absolute.
yeah,
Like there's no other interpretation. It is what it is. And so I've always thought of that and related that with angels, ancestors, dreams, visions. I've always thought those were pretty absolute truth, and necessary for now and needed now. But a lot of things I can understand, and just from walking it out a few more years, I can see that some things are meant to be for the future, not necessarily in the present, but what it does is it plants that little seed.
beautiful. You, are you starting to hear the message here?
Mhm.
And yeah, that insistence that you were feeling doesn't necessarily mean now.
Mhm.
Okay. But the seed of that is within you. You've
Mhm.
received that. And at some point, the resistance to that will diminish. Probably. I can't say that with 100%. That's making a statement about you that is
Yeah.
not mine to make. But possibly, when let's go with that,
Yeah.
when it diminishes, um, there's something very beautiful coming for you.
Yep.
From what you were describing, from what
Yeah.
you were,
I totally
and
believe it. And I feel no resistance to that itself. I think it was the constant. Like I
yeah,
felt like it was making me obsess over this thing. And I'm like, whoa, like there's so much more. Like I want to learn more about other things. Like I don't want to just focus on this one thing and obsess over it because I know that that can create imbalance, right?
yes.
So I think like I'm cool with it. Like whenever it does happen. Cool. But like I just felt like, whoa, I feel like this is so much right now. And I feel like I am I'm in just from this, I'm inherently putting a timestamp on it. Like it has to happen recent. It has to happen now, like within the next couple months if I'm hearing this over and over and over again. And then I found myself even kind of wondering, like with different events that were happening, am I gonna have that happen there? Is that the time when this is gonna happen? And I was like, God, I don't want to do that. Like I just want to be open, and just when it happens, it happens. Just like the rest of this year has gone for me. I just know that you can't make anything happen. It's gonna happen in the right timing. So it's kind of like, why are you still bringing it up? you know?
So let's touch back into that scenario with something I shared early on, open skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
If you approach that relationship, those relationships, those conversations, communications with this quality of open skepticism, what does that shift?
Yeah, that definitely shifts you from being resistant or from also completely diving in and assuming, right, how things are going to happen. It allows you to have that balance and to kind of take a back seat in a sense of like leaning back and trusting what you've heard, right?
Yeah. And then following the experiences, following the experiences without the obsessive quality that
Mm-hmm.
can come with it.
Mm-hmm. So good. Are your angels, any of your angels wanting to talk about that as far as like clarification of why they would be insistent or why they would continually share something when before I ever communicated, I know that they felt me kind of get
Yeah, they're talking about, yeah, the thing that's coming in is around, and not just with your situation, it would be anyone. I can,
mm-hmm,
as I'm about to say this, they're reminding me of that particular situation I was referring to earlier, where they got very enthusiastic and insistent with their message about a certain thing. It's about their sense of how you're receiving that message. Are you in a state of worthiness? Are,
ooh.
ooh, it was for me. It was for me. That's ouch. That's, yeah. And so there's where that repetition,
Hmm.
insistence comes in. If they're sensing qualities of unworthiness, about your receptivity on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the message, but the actual manifestation of that someday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see how they would do that because they're just like driving it home.
You, Whitney, are worthy of this.
Uh-huh.
You are a divine child of God, and He wants you to be happy. He wants you to experience joy. And this, when it happens, I'm going to use the word may bring you all of that. I'm trying to avoid the word will, because that's a pronouncement, and I'm
I
not in that
appreciate that.
place. I'm not in that place of making that pronouncement for you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's really good because I know I'm not alone in that as far as any kind of form, and it can be really sneaky. Like you can think that you have like all the worthiness and that you've done all that work and really confident, and like and sure. But I think there is always that doubt. There can always be that seed of doubt of the what if, especially if something's been delayed in our mindset, in our perspective, right? Something can be delayed. It could be a long-standing dream that you've had for your life and like what you want to do when you grow up, who you want to be, what you want to experience. And so anytime that we have a long-standing dream and it's been a long suffering, a road, a journey of trying to find that, or step into that role or step into that purpose, whatever it is. And when it's long suffering, a lot of times it can be very difficult to hold on and to not have doubt because you've had the experience of it not happening. Not that you were, even if you were never necessarily shut down, you know what I mean? You can have that experience of it just never manifesting. So you're like, meh, I'm not sure then if this is meant for me or am I just dreaming this or hoping for this or wanting this because society tells me, or it's cultural. There's so many factors of conditioning and programming and all of that we can work through. And so I know several people can struggle with that doubt, or just that unworthiness, or just that lack of hope. And that part, and that keeps you back from being able to accept it when you hear it from your angels. So I love that they're insistent, that they care enough.
Yeah. You did touch on a point earlier. I don't think you realized it or not, in this quality of unworthiness, about angels sit, way up here and us way down here. They are emanations of God, as we are form of from God. We are, our soul is you know comes from God and is in this physical body in this period of time and space that makes you Whitney and me Randy right now. But that doesn't diminish our divine nature as well.
That's good. Yeah. Doesn't make us
So
less divine.
and so that quality of unworthiness can be very sneaky, very subtle.
Yep. Yep. I think it's really encouraging to hear that from them, that that is where they would be coming from with that. Um as far as timing things, there's also a lot of stories in the Bible around angels appearing and giving proclamations, coming and giving warnings, or giving, kind of pertinent information for the future. And I just wanted to kind of ask around that, like, is that every angel? Like, should anyone that has, a connection to their angel, should they kind of be aware, I guess, that their angels would give them future guidance? Or is that kind of like one-offs, or like only certain angels do proclamations, like Gabriel, things like that?
The information is not specific to certain angels. I'll put that out there. Archangels sit a little higher on the ladder, on the run, and maybe have no, not maybe. I would give a little more attention when an archangel shows up. Pardon my voice. It's
All good.
yeah. That sinus infection I mentioned still lingers.
Still getting through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cautionary messages, those are good ones to pay attention to, regardless what form they come in. And where is it? In Numbers, it's in reference to the angels that were sent to Lot to leave Sodom and Gomorrah, about something to the effect of, I send you angels unaware. I'm not remembering the scripture, but they show up, be openly skeptical when you hear something that you believe is a message, but a cynic is just going to say, nope, didn't happen, just my imagination, angels don't exist. The cynic is that. The skeptic comes in with healthy doubt, but stays open to the possibility of a miracle.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
I've grown up on those stories, and even recent ones of people being like a missionary, a Christian missionary, and people hunting this particular person down, wanting to kill her or whatever. And an angel actually came to wake her up and said, "You need to go now. You need to leave now." And she ignored it. She's like, "No, no, no, no. I'm fine. I'm good. You're here. Hello. I'm fine." And the angel was like, "No, actually, you really need to leave now." She ignored it a second time. The angel ended up scooping her up and flying her out of there. Uh, so I don't know, it's like my mom just would tell me these stories as she would hear them, either through, other pastors or ministers or preachers or whatever. And so I grew up kind of with that understanding that there is a really close relationship with our angels that are guardian angels, over our life. And I've heard of even car crashes, right? And someone feeling like, someone just like came and touched them and pulled them back and kept them in the seat when they should have flown out. There's no understanding of how they only had scrapes and bruises from glass breaking, that they didn't actually, get tossed around or out of the vehicle. So I've heard of like so many stories, like I could keep going, of angels intervening, with even like loss of life. Um, and so I've always been really appreciative of that, and any kind of even cautionary messages around our well-being, and kind of seeing things of the future or seeing the possibility of something happening, and it's our responsibility how we choose to proceed, or what the choice is for us. But they give us that really clear options of, you don't have to respond this way, and if you do respond that way, there's different things that could happen. Maybe not loss of life, but just suffering, or trauma or something like that. um, I wanted to talk about, and maybe wrap this up by bringing back in Archangel Michael. I feel like he's been showing up a little bit more. I actually had a Reiki session with someone where they had a kidney stone, and they're local. And so I invited them over for some Reiki because they were in a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and weren't able to go to the hospital or emergency room just because of funds. And so I said, well, let's do some Reiki. And it was actually really fast, like how the Reiki worked on them. And perhaps that's their level of openness and receptivity. And so also, I think when intention meets intention, and, I want to be healed, I want her to be healed, like that intention matches. And so that energy can flow where it's needed. But I actually visually, like in the spirit and energy, saw this thing dissolve and almost like turn into powder. And right when I saw that, I asked, "Hey, do you feel different? Do you feel?" Because I'm seeing something happening, and I want to gauge it, And I always say, no need to tell me if it's not that way. Like, that's okay. We can continue on. Like, that actually helps me to know where to bring that healing energy. And physical healing sometimes take a long time. I can't guarantee anything, right? But we can try, and help that healing process. Anyway, um, just like a few minutes, she felt the shift, she felt the difference, and she felt complete, like no pain where she had had like excruciating pain, really painful. I could tell she was trying to play it off like it wasn't actually super bad, but it seemed like it was really painful. And so I basically asked for her to just kind of keep me in the loop as far as what she was feeling. And all of a sudden, I opened my eyes and I almost physically could see Archangel Michael come on my balcony, because I was facing my balcony in my living room, come on my balcony and just walked through the door, and then knelt down over her, and he said, "Can you give me some space?" And I was like, "Sure." So I backed up and gave some
Yeah.
space, and saw him put his hands down on her stomach, and she had already been feeling different. But whatever he came to do, and I've never even really known him as necessarily like a healing angel. I've always known him as more of like the warrior, the fighter, the one that goes into battle, um, at least from scripture and all of that. But he didn't even touch her. He just laid his hands over her and just kind of hovered there for a minute, and then he just was gone. And so I was like, okay. And so I kind of waited. I saw her, like, she seemed like she was very much in a space, like definitely went somewhere while that happened. And so I just kind of waited to feel her kind of come back into her body a little bit. She sat up. She literally felt like a completely new person. And I kind of giggled and said, well, I can't, you, because she said, thank you. I was like, well, actually, there's one more person or thing you should give credit to, because that wasn't all me. And I explained that to her, and she has actually a beautiful relationship or connection with Archangel Michael. So that was really interesting that he chose to come in, and that meant something very sweet to her. So I just want to give him credit, even on the podcast. He already knows I've given him credit, but I want to give him more credit. But I just think it's really cool that angels come in that way. Whether it's with you, with your sinuses, just aiding us in any way we need. I just find that to be really, really beautiful.
Um, Part of their assignment is to be a support for all of us, a loving, compassionate support. And they, in any given moment, they will be at your side. And it doesn't surprise me that your client that you were working with had this connection to Michael. You're right. A lot of times Raphael, more connected with healing, and an archangel that I lean into with my body work, is more involved with that. But all the angels have qualities of healing that may differ from one to the other, and the particular type of healing that your client was in need of in that moment probably related a little more to Michael's specialty than others. There was a thought. Oh, at the moment, at that particular point, was he more focused on the solar plexus?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's exactly where my thoughts went. It must have been around that third chakra energy, needing that strength of will and courage that Michael brings.
Yep. Yeah, because he is so strong. He has such a strength about him. And he's appeared to me in different ways. Like, I've actually seen him more as a defender, especially of the weak.
Yeah, the hand of God.
Yeah.
Hand of
And
God.
so I thought that was really interesting that he came, and he even felt different. But I knew it as soon as he came in. I was like, hey, Mike, what's up? Okay, let me back up. I'll back up. It was really sweet. I could just feel that, and it was so cool. And yeah, I think what's awesome is you started off with the angel card, Archangel Michael, and saying, basically ushering us into the divine will, the divine purpose of God. And that's ultimately what our angels, what our spiritual team, soul team, whatever you call it, is meant to do, is help us to come more into our purpose and the divine will of God, of us, why we incarnated, why we came here, what we came here to experience, to do, right? And so I'm always so grateful for that. And even when it's painful or you feel resistance to it, just kind of knowing that that is the ultimate intention and agenda behind whatever is communicated. Like, it may not feel like it's good for us or good for us right now, but it may be watering something that is being nourished by those words and that insistence, right? To encourage us and to keep us basically nourished in that way, so that when the time comes for that to bud or flourish or come into our life or be manifested, it's ready. Our hearts are ready to receive it or to experience it or to do it or to step into that, whatever it is. So very beautiful.
So I know we're coming to we're nearing the end of this time, and I'm getting a real strong indication that we're going to do this again
Oh yeah.
at some point.
Oh.
This specifically is for you, but I think others will benefit from it. And actually was something I was part of my preparation from Celeste. I don't know if it's in the recording early on or if this was in our conversation before we started recording, but I mentioned that a lot of what I'm working with these days it is around heart math and Ho'oponopono. And I don't know if those are familiar to you or to anyone listening. They are two separate things, but they are two very powerful things that ways of working energetically. Ho'oponopono is a very profound tool for forgiveness. And I'm just going to hold a book up here to the camera, mention the name. It's definitely out there. It was only translated from French about 2 or 3 years ago, so there are plenty of copies. It introduces this tool, which comes from Hawaii, by the way. And let's see. Can you read that?
Yeah, the book of Ho'opono.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super beautiful book.
Yeah. Not very thick, but full of very valuable information. And many of the books that are out there are very brief and they are kind of sketchy on some of the details. And then there's a pair of books out there that take Ho'oponopono into a very materialistic way of the world. And I mention it only so you know, from my perspective, if you really want to follow this thread, this would be a very good way to explore this form of forgiveness. And it does originate the Hawaiian kahuna, a woman, developed this from an ancient Polynesian form of reconciliation between family members that were in disagreement. She created a form that is more for the everyday person situation, and it comes from her Christian training. So there's a blending of East and West in this. It's very simple, very profound, but because of the prayer or mantra that's invoked, can be a little grating and clashing with some people's sensibilities.
Very interesting.
But yeah, Celeste said you can't get off this without mentioning this. Okay. And maybe we come back and talk more about this next time.
Oh yeah, we should. And you mentioned this, I think, offline, but gene keys, like we definitely need to talk. We need to talk about that in our next episode for sure. Heart math, gene keys. Yeah. We have so much to talk about.
I love it. Whitney, I enjoy you so much.
Same, Randy.
I want to reiterate to everyone that's listening, watching, that caught the first episode. I really, really am touched that there were so many likes, and yeah, that's that makes my Thanksgiving. I'm very grateful for that. And the last thing, questions. Please, if you have questions about anything that I've said, you can get them to me through Whitney or through the information she shares for contact. And yeah, open skepticism.
It's the way. It's the only way. Yeah, I totally agree. And thank you, Randy, so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your heart, communicating what your angels share with us. And this has just been so beautiful. And every conversation we've had, even just between us, has been so beautiful. And I just appreciate you and the I guess the sage in you as well, because it's always refreshing, and it always feels like I just chugged like a gallon of life energy when I hang out with you. It's just so beautiful, and I just love your heart, and you just have like one of the most purest hearts I've ever met. So I love it, and we need more of you. And so I'm happy to have this platform, have you on as many times as I can get you on. So we have so much more to talk about. Thank you so much for your time, and sending you guys all the love, all my listeners. I will have his info in the show notes below, so you can look him up and follow him and connect with Randy, because he's a beautiful soul. So he does massage therapy, right? And in the Austin area, and also Reiki. And so you can hook up with him that way too for those modalities and services that he offers. So Randy, thank you so much. Love to you.
Thank you, Whitney. Blessings, and all the work you're doing with your brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.